Face a brand new chart for the head and for the heart. It's your journey, your tools.
Okay, I want everyone to try a little visualization with me, just for a second. And obviously, don't do this if you're driving or operating heavy machinery.
A very important disclaimer.
Right. But if you're in a safe spot, maybe just close your eyes. I want you to picture a lake. It's that perfect time, early morning. There's maybe a little bit of mist coming off the surface. And the water is just glass. Absolutely calm. And right there, gliding into the middle of your frame, is a duck, a beautiful, classic mallard.
Okay.
And it's just gliding. It looks so regal, so effortless. It's the absolute picture of serenity and composure.
It's a very peaceful image. It's almost aspirational. It's what we all want to look like when we walk into a meeting or a party.
Exactly. That's the vibe. It's the carefully curated Instagram feed. It's the calm manager in a crisis. But now here's the turn. I want you to take that mental camera of yours and just plunge it right under the water.
Okay. The view from below.
What do you see down there? It's chaos. Those little webbed feet are paddling like there's no tomorrow. They are just churning, fighting the current, moving a mile a minute.
Right. It's frantic. It's this hidden explosion of effort.
100%.
Right.
The duck isn't gliding because it's magic. It's gliding because it is working furiously, desperately, just to maintain its position, just to stay afloat.
And that, right there, is the perfect metaphor for what we're going to be digging into today. It's a term known colloquially as the duck syndrome.
The duck syndrome.
And while it sounds kind of cute, because ducks,
Yeah.
it's actually describing a state of being that is incredibly painful and, frankly, very depleting.
I have to say, when I first heard that term, I felt so seen.
Okay.
Like so many of us, you look around your office or maybe at other parents at school pick up, and you just see all these graceful ducks. And you think, wow, she really has it all together. Or he never seems to break a sweat. But inside, we know we are the ones paddling frantically. We feel like we're drowning in our own kinetic energy.
And we assume we're the only ones.
Yes. We assume everyone else is just naturally gliding, and we're the one fraud who's faking it.
That is the core illusion of it all. The term actually has a pretty fascinating origin. It started, not surprisingly, at Stanford University.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. High-achieving, high-pressure environment.
The absolute epicenter of it. It was coined there to describe this very specific campus culture, a culture that's been called, and this is a heavy phrase, a culture of unspeakable suffering.
Wow. Unspeakable suffering.
The idea was that every single student felt this immense pressure to project an image of effortless perfection. It wasn't just about getting the A. You had to get the A while looking like you barely studied.
Right. So admitting you were up until 4 in the morning, or that you were having a panic attack in the library, that was a sign of what? Weakness.
It was worse than weakness. It was seen as a breach of the social contract.
The social contract.
Yeah, the unspoken rule of elite success is we are all brilliant, and this is supposed to be easy for us. Admitting struggle breaks that illusion. So you end up with a whole campus of young people basically gaslighting each other into silence.
Everyone is walking around smiling, looking perfect, joining 5 clubs, and then going back to their dorm room and suffering completely alone.
That's it precisely. And what's so important for our conversation today is that this has escaped the campus. It's not just a university problem anymore. It has, for many of us, become the default operating mode for modern professional life.
It really has.
And so today, we're going to peel back that metaphor and look at the clinical reality underneath. Because while duck syndrome isn't a diagnosis you'll find in the DSM-5.
You can't get a prescription for it.
No. But it correlates incredibly strongly with a psychological profile that we call high-functioning anxiety, or HFA.
High-functioning anxiety. Okay, let's really unpack that, because that term itself feels like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Usually when we think of anxiety, or really any mental health struggle, we think of dysfunction. We think of things falling apart. People who can't get out of bed, who are missing deadlines, who are visibly struggling to cope.
And that is the central paradox we have to wrestle with today.
You're absolutely right. Most pathology, most mental illness is defined by an inability to function. If you have the flu, you can't work. If you have major depression, you might struggle with basic hygiene.
It impairs your life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But high-functioning anxiety is characterized not by a lack of function, but by an excess of function.
An excess of function. Yeah, such a strange and powerful idea. So we're talking about the overperformers.
We're talking about the superachievers, the person who's always 15 minutes early, the person with the meticulously color-coded calendar, the one who has a plan B, C, and D for a scenario that probably won't even happen.
From the outside, they look like the ideal employee, the perfect parent, the most reliable friend.
They look like they're thriving, but their internal experience is one of constant, grinding fear.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To get under the water and look at the paddling. Exactly. We need to understand why they are doing it. Because they aren't doing it out of a simple love for organization. We're going to try and dismantle what's called the performance loop. We need to look at the neurobiological machinery that actually punishes these people for resting.
Wow.
And rewards them for overexertion. We're going to look at why, for so many people, success feels an awful lot like suffering.
And we're using neuroscience and something called polyvagal theory to do it.
That's the plan.
I am so ready for this. I think a lot of people listening right now are about to feel very, very seen. Maybe a little attacked, but, in a good way.
In a constructive way.
So let's start with the brain. If this is high-functioning anxiety,
Right.
how is it different on a chemical or a structural level from what we might think of as classic anxiety, like generalized anxiety disorder or GE?
That's the perfect place to start because on the surface, the internal feeling, that knot in your stomach, the racing thoughts, it might feel very similar, but the behavioral output is the polar opposite.
Okay.
In classic GD, the primary symptom is often avoidance.
Avoidance.
Right. The anxiety is so overwhelming that it becomes paralyzing. You might see someone who's so terrified of failing a test that they just don't study or they don't even show up for it.
They flee the scene.
They flee or they freeze. They withdraw socially because the stimulation is just too much. They miss deadlines because they're just stuck, frozen in the state of panic. It's the classic flight or freeze response.
But the person with HFA,
Yeah.
they're not running away from the stressor.
No, they run towards it. They've learned, often from a very young age, to use anxiety as a fuel source. They harness that frantic, nervous energy to over-prepare, overthink, and overperform.
It's like they're pouring rocket fuel into a Toyota Camry.
That's a fantastic analogy. It gets you where you're going, and fast, but it is burning the engine out at a terrifying rate.
Okay, so what's happening in the engine? What's happening in the brain that makes this happen?
To understand that, we have to look at the relationship between two key parts of the brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, or PFC.
All right, Neuroscience 101. The amygdala is the alarm system, right? The primitive lizard brain part.
Yes, exactly. Think of it as your brain's threat detection center. It is constantly scanning your environment 24/7, even when you sleep, for any sign of danger, tigers, fire, social rejection, snakes.
So it's basically a very, very paranoid security guard.
A paranoid security guard who is very fast, very loud, and frankly not very smart. It reacts first and thinks later.
And then you've got the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. That's the new shiny part of the brain right behind our foreheads, the CEO.
That's the CEO. It handles logic, planning, emotional regulation, impulse control, all the sophisticated stuff.
So in a, let's call it a regulated brain,
Right.
How do those two talk to each other?
In a typical calm scenario, the conversation goes something like this. The amygdala sees something ambiguous, maybe a weird shadow in the corner of the room. It screams, "Tiger!" and sends a jolt of panic through your system. The prefrontal cortex then gets that signal, calmly looks at all the data, analyzes the shape of the shadow, and sends a message back down. Hey, settle down. That's not a tiger. That's just the coat rack you bought last week.
It puts the brakes on.
It inhibits the amygdala. It's the parent telling the toddler there's no monster under the bed. But in the brain of someone with high-functioning anxiety,
The brakes are out.
the brakes are cut, or at the very least, the brake lines are leaky, the connection is scrambled, the PFC fails to effectively inhibit the amygdala, and so the amygdala just stays in this state of high alert, of hypervigilance.
So it's always screaming tiger.
It's always screaming tiger, and it's interpreting ambiguous stimuli as existential threats.
I want to dig into that phrase, ambiguous stimuli, because you're right, we're not running from actual tigers anymore. What's a modern-day tiger in an office setting?
An unread email, that's a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say your boss has a neutral expression on their face during a Zoom call. It's not a frown, it's not a smile, it's just a face.
Or a typo in a report you just sent out.
Oh, the typo is a classic. For the HFA brain, that typo isn't just a minor mistake. It's not an oops. The amygdala screams, danger, rejection, you're going to get filed. Exclusion from the tribe. Death.
Wait, are you being serious? The brain's reaction to a misplaced comma is physiologically similar to its reaction to a predator.
The initial cascade is remarkably similar. The release of cortisol, the flood of adrenaline, your heart rate spikes, your pupils might dilate, blood is diverted from your digestive system. It's a full-body threat response.
Wow.
But, and this is the absolute aha moment for high-functioning anxiety, unlike the GAD patient who might freeze or run from that tiger, the HFA patient engages a hyperactive fight response.
The fight response. So they don't run from the work, they attack it.
They attack it. They use that very smart prefrontal cortex not to calm the amygdala down, but to try and micromanage the entire world to prove the amygdala wrong.
What does that look like?
If the amygdala says, there might be a tiger in the jungle tomorrow, the HFA brain says, okay, I will build a 10-foot-high fortress. I will map the entire jungle grid by grid. I will sharpen 5,000 sticks, and I will stay awake all night on watch.
My God, that sounds exhausting just listening to it. It really is a war zone inside their head.
It's a constant war. It's what we call cognitive overcontrol. And it manifests as that hyperorganization, the rigid planning, the excessive cognitive labor. They aren't actually resolving the anxiety. They're just desperately trying to manage it. They have this core belief that if they can just control every single variable,
then they'll finally be safe.
But of course, the world is fundamentally uncontrollable.
So they never feel safe.
Yeah.
The goalposts just keep moving.
Exactly. And this leads to this physiological state we call the baseline startle.
Baseline startle. It sounds like me after my second cup of coffee. What does it mean clinically?
It means your nervous system is primed for a threat even when there's no stressor present. Think of a car engine at idle. Most people's nervous systems idle at, say, 800 RPM.
Yeah.
The HFA individual is idling at 4,000 RPM. They are constantly revving. They are ready to floor it at any given second.
So they're jumpy. They're on edge.
Physically and mentally. And the body is just confused. It can't tell the difference between a looming deadline and a physical threat. But again, this is where the HFA person engages in what's called active coping. They lean into that adrenaline spike.
They use it.
They use it. They use that chemical flood to pull all-nighters, to hyperfocus, to power through that massive to-do list they created to feel safe.
And here's the truly insidious part.
Yeah.
Society rewards this.
Yeah.
We celebrate it. We look at that person and we say, wow, look at their drive. Look at their work ethic. They're so productive.
That is the tragedy of the duck syndrome.
Yeah.
Short-term gain is huge. It's accolades, it's promotions, it's external validation. But the long-term cost is what we call catabolic damage.
Catabolic damage. That sounds really bad. Break that down.
Your metabolism is always in one of two states. Anabolic, which is building up and repairing tissue, or catabolic, which is breaking down tissue for energy. When you are in a chronic high-stress state, you are constantly catabolic. You are literally breaking down your body's own tissues, your muscles, the lining of your organs, your bone density, to fuel this constant performance. You are, quite literally, burning the furniture to heat the house.
Burning the furniture to heat the house. Wow. That is a terrifying and incredibly vivid image.
This seems like the perfect bridge to what I found so fascinating in the research, this idea of the performance loop. Because I think so many people, myself included, feel like they're almost addicted to stress. You hear people say all the time, oh, I just work better under pressure. Is that actually true, or is that just the anxiety talking?
It is, in a very real, very literal neurobiological sense, an addiction. And to understand it, we have to talk about dopamine.
Ah, dopamine. Everyone's favorite molecule? The pleasure chemical, the reward molecule.
Stop right there. That is the #1 misconception we have to correct. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical.
Yeah.
It is not the chemical of satisfaction or liking something.
So it's not. No, it is a seeking chemical. It is the fuel of the wanting system, not the liking system.
Whoa, okay, I need you to pause on that. Wanting versus liking. I always thought dopamine was a little treat my brain gets when I finish the big project.
No, dopamine is what drives you to pursue the big project. It's the craving, it's the agitation, it's the motivation that makes you check your email again and again to see if you got the good news. It pushes you to achieve the goal, but the moment you get it, the moment you get the promotion or the A+ set,
The dopamine drops off.
it plummets. The thrill, neurochemically, is in the chase, not the catch.
And the brain, I assume, gets used to this.
It creates what we call the slot machine effect. It habituates to rewards. Getting that promotion gives you a huge dopamine hit during the pursuit.
Whoa.
But once you have that job, that's just the new normal. So to get the same chemical hit, the next goal has to be even bigger. The deadline has to be tighter. The stakes have to be higher.
You're chasing the dragon, It's just building a tolerance, like with any other drug.
You become a dopamine chaser. And here's the dark side that people with HFA know so well. In the absence of achievement, let's say it's a quiet Sunday afternoon and there's nothing to win, your dopamine levels drop below baseline.
And that feels
It
bad.
feels awful. It leads to dysphoria, restlessness, a profound sense of worthlessness. It's a neurochemical withdrawal.
Oh my God. That explains so much. That's why relaxing feels so bad.
Yeah.
That's why sitting on the couch just trying to watch a movie feels like
Yes.
a moral failing, like guilt.
Yes. For the HFA individual, work becomes the escape from that neurochemical low. They work not because they love the work, but because stopping feels terrifying. They are self-medicating their dopamine withdrawal with more productivity.
We're not working to feel good. We're working to stop feeling bad.
Oh.
That's a huge shift in understanding. And then there's the adrenaline piece of this. You mentioned productive procrastination.
Yes.
This is the story of my life. I have a big deadline, and I will suddenly decide that this is the perfect moment to clean out my entire fridge or organize my spice rack.
And you tell yourself, I'm just getting my workspace ready. I need a clear space to have a clear mind.
Every single time. The feng shui is just off. I can't possibly work in these conditions.
But that's not what's happening neurobiologically. We need to reframe procrastination. It is not laziness, it's an emotional regulation failure.
Okay, thank you. I feel slightly better about myself now. But how does cleaning the bathroom help me regulate my emotions?
The big task you need to do, let's say write that report, it brings up anxiety. Your amygdala says, don't do that, it's scary. You might fail. People might judge it.
Right.
So to soothe that screaming amygdala, you do a low-stakes task. Organizing your books is productive, but it's safe. You can't really fail at organizing books. It provides a little hit of accomplishment and quiets the noise for a bit.
It's a small, easy win.
But the clock is ticking on the big deadline, and eventually, the fear of missing the deadline becomes greater than the fear of starting the task.
Bam, boom. Adrenaline spike. Panic.
Boom! Full-on panic sets in, and your prefrontal cortex, which was too anxious or tired to focus before, suddenly gets flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. That chemical cocktail overrides the limbic system, and you snap into a state of hyperfocus. You write the entire report in 3 hours.
And the worst part is, it's usually pretty good. The system works.
It works in the short term. But that is the performance loop. That's the trap. You are wiring your brain to believe on a deep level that panic is a prerequisite for success.
Wow.
The cycle becomes anxiety triggers sympathetic activation, fight response, work, relief. You literally lose the ability to initiate tasks from a place of calm. You can only work from a place of survival.
I feel like you're reading my diary right now. It's the I can't start until it feels like an emergency lifestyle.
It's a very common and deeply draining way to live. You are training your nervous system that productive work must feel like an emergency.
Okay, so we've established what's happening in the brain. But what does this actually look like on the outside? We talked about the duck gliding smoothly, but there have to be specific tells, right? Behaviors that might even seem positive, but are actually red flags for this HFA profile.
Oh, absolutely. And they're often confusing because, like we said, society tends to label them as virtues. Let's start with one called proactive perfectionism.
Proactive perfectionism. How is that different from just regular perfectionism?
A regular perfectionist might get paralyzed. They don't hand in the project because it's not perfect yet. They miss the deadline. The proactive perfectionist, on the other hand, over-delivers.
Okay.
If you ask them for a 2-page summary, they give you a 10-page report complete with charts, graphs, and a full appendix.
And the assumption is that they're doing that to be an overachiever, to get the gold star.
That's what it looks like. But here's the key distinction. They are not doing it for the gold star. They are doing it for safety. The internal logic is, if I am perfect, I am safe. If I over-deliver by a factor of 10, no one can possibly find a flaw. If I anticipate every possible question and answer it in advance, I can't be criticized.
It's armor.
Yeah.
You're building a shield made out of spreadsheets and extra work.
It's armor against what we call the tyrant inner critic. The fear usually isn't about their boss actually yelling at them. It's about that voice inside their own head that will berate them mercilessly for any perceived mistake. They're trying to outrun their own inner critic.
That makes so much sense. What about leadership roles? You mentioned this tycoon facade.
Right. It's very common for people with HFA to seek out leadership positions. And again, it's not necessarily because they crave power in that Machiavellian way. It's because they crave control.
If you're the one driving the bus, you know it's not going to crash.
Precisely. The enemy of the anxious mind is uncertainty. If you are the boss, you get to control more of the variables. That famous line, "I'll just do it myself so I know it's done right," isn't just about high standards.
It's about anxiety management.
It's pure anxiety management. If I delegate a task, I have to trust someone else. Trust involves uncertainty. Uncertainty triggers the amygdala. So to avoid that feeling, I'll just hoard all the work and do it myself.
And then there's the flip side of that, which seems like a total contradiction. The fawn response. This is the people pleaser.
Yeah.
The person who cannot say no.
Exactly. It's often considered the fourth stress response. We all know fight, flight, and freeze. But there's also fawn.
It's appeasement, right? Like a dog rolling over and showing its belly.
Yes. The core message is, I am not a threat. Please don't hurt me. Please don't reject me. For the HFA individual, setting a boundary feels incredibly dangerous.
Why?
Because if I say no to your request, I risk your disapproval. And to the hypervigilant amygdala, disapproval feels like a threat to survival. It feels like potential exclusion from the group. So to maintain a feeling of safety in the connection, they'll prioritize everyone else's needs over their own, often to a catastrophic degree. They say yes to the extra project even though they're already working 80 hours a week.
And speaking of those 80-hour weeks, eventually the body starts to object. That phrase, the body keeps the score, it feels incredibly relevant here. You can't run this engine this hot forever without seeing some serious physical consequences.
You absolutely cannot. The somatic or physical toll of HFA is immense. And this is often the point where people finally seek help. They don't go to a therapist for anxiety. They go to their doctor for chronic stomach issues or migraines or debilitating back pain, not realizing it's all connected.
Let's run through some of those physical symptoms. What are the signs that your body is paddling furiously under the water?
The first big category is musculoskeletal armoring. The body is constantly braced for a physical fight that never truly happens.
Hansing up.
Constantly. So you see high rates of bruxism, which is jaw clenching and teeth grinding.
I do this. My dentist told me I need a night guard because I'm grinding my teeth down in my sleep.
That's your masseter muscles getting a full workout all night long. You also see what we call the HFA hunch. Shoulders raised up, guarding the neck. It's a primal defensive posture to protect the carotid artery.
Your shoulders are practically touching your earrings.
Exactly. And you'll also see motor agitation. Little things like tapping your foot, picking at your cuticles, twirling your hair. That's the body trying to discharge all that trapped fight energy. You're flooded with adrenaline, but you're just sitting still, so it has to leak out somewhere.
What about the gut? We hear so much about the brain-gut connection.
It's huge. The vagus nerve forms a direct information highway between the two. When you're in fight or flight, your body makes an executive decision. It says, we do not have time to digest lunch right now. We need all available blood in the muscles so we can run from the spare.
So it shuts down digestion.
It shuts it down. This leads to chronic indigestion, IBS-like symptoms, bloating, nausea. Those butterflies you feel before a big presentation, that's actually mild vasoconstriction in your gut. In HFA, that state is chronic, which can lead to ulcers and problems absorbing nutrients.
There was a term in the source material that I had never heard before, but it stopped me in my tracks. Email apnea.
Yes.
Oh.
This is one that I want everyone listening to check in on right now. As you're listening to this, are you breathing?
Takes a deep breath. I am now. But I absolutely catch myself doing this constantly when I'm working.
Email apnea is the unconscious tendency to hold your breath or breathe very, very shallowly while reading and answering emails or concentrating on a screen.
Why on earth do we do that?
It often starts as a concentration reflex, but what it does is it dramatically alters the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your bloodstream. When you hold your breath, CO2 builds up. That buildup sends a panic signal to your brainstem that you're suffocating.
So we are literally creating a physiological panic response just by checking our inbox.
You're maintaining a low-grade state of panic all day long. It's
Right.
absolutely wild.
And I have to assume this completely wrecks your sleep.
Profoundly. It's the classic tired but wired phenomenon. You have what's called sleep onset insomnia. You're physically exhausted. You can barely keep your eyes open. But the second your head hits the pillow, your mind is racing.
The hamster wheel just starts spinning.
And then even if you do fall asleep, there's the infamous 3.0 a.m. wake-up call.
Why is it always 3 a.m.? It's never a convenient 6:30 a.m. It's always the middle of the night.
There's a metabolic reason. Your brain, which has been burning through glucose all day with worry, experiences a blood sugar dip overnight. This hypoglycemic dip triggers a cortisol spike to mobilize more sugar into your bloodstream.
And cortisol is the stress hormone.
So your body essentially injects you with a shot of adrenaline to wake you up. You snap awake, heart pounding, instantly worrying about a meeting that's 3 weeks away.
And this constant effort, all this masking,
Yeah.
it has a huge cognitive cost, right? People sometimes call it smiling depression.
That's one term for it, yes. Maintaining that cheerful, calm exterior while you're suffering inside. But the clinical term for the cost is ego depletion. Faking calm, suppressing that screaming amygdala, requires a massive amount of cognitive bandwidth.
It's just energy.
It's a huge energy drain. So by the time these people get home from work, they have absolutely nothing left in the tank. The battery is at 0%.
They just collapse on the couch.
They either collapse or they snap. They're irritable. They have zero patience for their kids or their partner. The Mac they've worn all day finally falls off because they're just too exhausted to hold it up anymore. They've been the perfect employee all day, and they come home and become the grumpy, withdrawn spouse.
And eventually, that battery doesn't just die for the night, the whole system crashes. This is where we get into polyvagal theory and the concept of burnout. Because this crash, it isn't just I'm feeling a bit tired, it's a fundamental state shift in the nervous system.
Correct. This is so critical for people to understand. Burnout isn't just needing a vacation. It is a metabolic crisis and a protective but terrifying shift in the autonomic nervous system.
Okay, so walk us through polyvagal theory. It can get pretty complex, but the simplest way to think about it is like a ladder, right?
Yes, the ladder analogy is perfect. Think of your nervous system as having 3 rungs. The top rung is the ventral vagal state.
Okay.
This is your safe and social state. This is when you feel calm, connected, curious, creative. Your body is in a rest and digest mode. This is the goal.
Top of the ladder. Happy place.
Exactly. The middle rung is the sympathetic state. This is fight or flight. This is mobilization, energy, action. This is where the person with HFA lives their entire life. They are on that middle rung, paddling furiously.
Constantly revving. And the bottom rung.
The bottom rung is the dorsal vagal state. This is the oldest part of our nervous system. It's shut down, freeze, or collapse.
What does that mean?
In the animal kingdom, this is the feigned death response. If the possum can't outrun the coyote, its last-ditch survival effort is to go completely limp. It shuts down all non-essential systems to conserve energy and numb the pain of what it thinks is impending death.
Whoa. So when we burn out, our body is basically playing dead.
In a manner of speaking, yes. When your sympathetic system finally burns out, when you've run on adrenaline for so long that there's nothing left, your body slams on the emergency brake to prevent you from literally dying of exhaustion. It drops you, often violently, from that middle rung of the ladder all the way down to the bottom.
And what does that look like in a person? We're not flopping over in a field.
No. In a human, it looks like functional freeze. You might be sitting at your desk, you're physically present, but you are mentally offline, you're dissociated. You can stare at a single email for an hour and not be able to process the words. You open it, close it, open it again, nothing goes in.
The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Precisely. You also experience something called anhedonia.
Which is the inability to feel pleasure.
Right. Your dopamine system is completely depleted. The promotions and accolades you used to chase so desperately, you get one and you feel absolutely nothing. The hobbies you used to love, like painting or running, feel like chores. It's just ash, numbness.
I've heard the term leaden paralysis to describe this. Your limbs literally feel heavy, like gravity has been turned up.
That is a hallmark of the dorsal state. It's a state of hyperarousal. Your biology is forcing you into a state of conservation, almost like hibernation. But, and here is the absolute tragedy of it for the HFA person, they don't interpret this biological conservation as a survival mechanism.
No, they interpret it as a moral failing. They don't say, my nervous system is protecting me. They say, why am I so lazy all of a sudden?
Exactly. What's wrong with me? I'm worthless. I used to be able to do all this. And that self-judgment creates a massive shame spiral. And what is shame? Shame is a huge stressor.
So it just triggers more anxiety.
It triggers more anxiety, which is a sympathetic state. So you get trapped in this horrific mixed state of being wired but frozen. You're panicking about not working, sympathetic, but your body is physically refusing to move, dorsal. It's a living hell.
And this is what leads to things like HPA axis dysfunction, what people used to call adrenal fatigue.
Yes. That profound morning fatigue where even 3 cups of coffee do nothing. Dizziness when you stand up too fast because your blood pressure isn't regulating properly.
Yeah.
Intense cravings for salt and sugar because your body is screaming for minerals and quick energy. It's a system in full collapse.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
a terrifyingly accurate depiction of a state I think many, many listeners are familiar with.
Yeah.
But we are not here just to diagnose the problem and leave everyone in a dorsal vagal shame spiral.
No.
We have to talk about how to fix it. We need the toolkit.
We do. And the most important thing to understand before we dive into the tools is that standard wellness advice often fails spectacularly here. If you tell an HFA person to just relax or go meditate, it can actually make things worse.
Why is that? I would love it if someone told me to go to a spa.
Because for an HFA brain that's been running on panic for decades, relaxation feels unsafe. Stillness feels unproductive. It leaves them alone with their racing thoughts. Silence is terrifying because that's when the amygdala starts screaming its loudest.
So we need a different approach.
Yeah.
A paradoxical approach.
We don't want to just stop paddling immediately because that feels like drowning. We need to learn how to float first.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's get into the tools. Tool number 1. This comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. The idea is decoupling worth from productivity.
This is the foundational piece. You have to break the mental fusion between I am and I do. And a powerful way to start is with the retirement party visualization.
Okay, let's do it. I'm closing my eyes again.
All right. I want you to imagine it's your 80th birthday or your retirement party. You're there, surrounded by the people you love most, your friends, your family, your dearest colleagues, and one by one, they stand up to give a speech about you.
Okay, I'm there. I'm hoping the cake is good.
Focus on the speeches. What do you hope they're saying about you? Are they saying she consistently achieved inbox 0 every single day of 2025? Are they saying he had the most beautifully formatted spreadsheets I've ever seen?
Oh, gosh, no. That would be the most depressing speech in history.
It would be the tragedy.
They'd be talking about, I hope,
Yeah.
about being a good friend,
Yeah.
about being kind,
Mm-hmm.
about having a good sense of humor, about being there for them when things got hard.
Exactly. People eulogize character, not productivity. They talk about who you were, not just what you did. And the profound disconnect is that most of us spend 90% of our life's energy on the resume stuff and only 10% on the eulogy stuff.
That really hits home.
Yeah.
So how do we put that insight into action? Because a nice visualization is one thing, but I'm an HFA person. I need a to-do list item.
The action item is this. Schedule one action per week that serves one of your core values like connection or creativity or play, but has absolutely zero productive output.
Zero productive output. Give me an example, because my brain immediately tries to turn everything into a goal.
Go to a park and draw a picture of a tree. And then, when you're done, rip it up and throw it away.
Oof. That physically hurts me to think about. Destroy it.
Yes, you must destroy it. To prove to your brain that the value is in the act of creating, not in having a product to show for it. Or go for a walk, but you have to leave your phone and your fitness tracker at home.
No step counting. No podcast.
No optimizing, no inputs, just walking for the sake of walking. You have to train your nervous system that it is safe to exist without being productive.
That is deeply counterintuitive and very challenging. I love it. Okay, tool number 2. We can't just think our way out of anxiety. We have to use the body. Nervous system regulation.
Yes. Remember, when your amygdala has hijacked you, your prefrontal cortex is offline. You can't logic your way out of panic. Telling yourself to calm down is like shouting at a tidal wave. You need bottom-up regulation, using your body to change your brain. We can use the TIPP skills from dialectical behavior therapy.
Let's go through them. What's the T?
Temperature. Specifically intense cold. This is the fastest physiological reset button you have. You splash ice-cold water on your face, focusing on the area around your eyes and under your cheekbones, or hold a bag of frozen peas there.
Why that specific spot?
It triggers something called the mammalian dive reflex. It's an evolutionary holdover. Your brain thinks you've just fallen into a frozen lake. To preserve oxygen for your vital organs, it immediately and dramatically slows your heart rate. It forces your parasympathetic nervous system online. It's a hard reboot for your panic response.
That is an amazing biohack. Okay, the I.
Intense exercise, but we're only talking about 60 seconds. Do a full-out sprint. Do jumping jacks until you feel like you're going to collapse. Do burpees.
Well, wait, that seems wrong. If I'm anxious and my heart is already pounding, why would I want to make it pound faster?
Because you've got all this cortisol and adrenaline coursing through you, preparing your body for a fight or a flight that never happened. You just sat in your chair stewing. The intense exercise burns off that chemical soup. It completes the stress cycle, signaling to your body that the threat has been physically dealt with and it's now safe to calm down.
P is for paced breathing.
Yes, but a very specific kind. The most effective is 4-7-8 breathing. You inhale through your nose for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 7, and you exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8.
Why is that long exhale so important?
Your heart rate naturally speeds up a little on the inhale and slows down on the exhale. By making your exhale twice as long as your inhale, you are physically stimulating your vagus nerve, which acts as the primary brake on your heart rate. You are manually slowing your own system down.
And the final P.
Paired muscle relaxation. You systematically tense every muscle in your body as hard as you can. Make fists, scrunch up your face, curl your toes, hold that tension for 5 seconds, and then release it all at once. It forces your body to recognize the difference between tension and relaxation, helping that armor to drop away.
I also saw a bonus tip in the notes about making a VOO sound. This one seems a little weird.
Yes, the VOO chant. It sounds strange, but it is incredibly effective, especially if you're in that dorsal freeze state.
Okay, walk me through it. I want to try it.
All right. You take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, you make a low, vibrating foghorn-like sound from your belly, like this.
Ooh. Okay, VOO.
Deeper. Feel it in your chest. Woo!
Okay, I can feel it vibrating in my sternum. What is that doing?
That vibration is directly stimulating the vagus nerve as it passes through your diaphragm and your vocal cords.
Yeah.
It's a self-generated way to tone the nervous system and signal safety. It literally tells your body, I am safe enough to make a sound.
I'm not sure I'll be doing that in my open plan office.
Perhaps one for the car or a bathroom stall. But trust me, it works.
Okay, tool number 3. I'll be honest, this one scares me the most. Cognitive diffusion and the calculated flaw.
This is exposure therapy for perfectionism. If perfectionism is essentially a phobia of making a mistake, the only way to heal it is to expose yourself to mistakes in small, controlled doses and see that you survive.
So, I have to mess up on purpose. My whole body just recoiled at that idea.
Yes. We call it a behavioral experiment. You have to intentionally commit a calculated flaw.
Okay, give us the levels. Start me on level 1, the easy mode.
Level 1, send a text message to a trusted friend that has a clear typo in it. And this is the most important part. You are not allowed to send a follow-up message with an asterisk to correct it.
Oh, that is genuinely painful. The urge to correct it would be overwhelming.
I know. Your job is to sit with that urge, watch the anxiety spike, feel the discomfort, and then watch as literally nothing bad happens. Your friend doesn't abandon you. The world doesn't end.
Okay, level 2.
Leave one dish in the sink overnight. On purpose.
You are a monster.
In
An agent of chaos.
the HFA brain, it feels like pure chaos. It feels like a total loss of control. But you will wake up in the morning, the house will not have burned down, and you can simply wash the dish. You are rewiring the connection in your brain that says imperfection equals danger. You're teaching your amygdala that a dirty dish is not a tiger.
And what's level 3? The final boss.
Send a low-stakes internal email at work with a minor non-critical error. Maybe you forget to attach the document and have to send a follow-up. Or you speak up in a meeting before your thought is 100% perfectly formulated.
That's the advanced class.
Yeah.
But I get the logic. You're deliberately collecting data to prove your anxiety wrong.
You're building imperfection tolerance. It's like a muscle.
All right, tool number 4. This is a big one. Boundaries. Learning to say no. You call it boundary architecture.
Yes. Because for the HFA individual, especially one with a strong fawn response saying no, feels like a spontaneous act of confrontation, we need to give them a script, a structure, so they don't have to rely on pure willpower in a stressful moment. We use the Dear Man technique from DBT.
Dear man.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick role play. I'm your demanding boss. You're the HFA employee who needs to say no.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, I know you're completely swamped, but you're the only one I trust with this. I really need you to take the lead on this new Project X. And I need a draft by Friday.
Okay. First, D, describe the facts. Okay, so just to be clear, on my current workload, I'm managing Project A and Project B, both of which also have major deadlines on Friday.
Okay.
E, express your feelings. To be honest, I'm feeling very stretched thin at the moment, and I'm concerned that taking on another big project would compromise the quality of all three. A, assert your needs. So I'm going to have to decline taking on Project X right now, unless we can agree to push back the deadline on either A or B.
Wow, that was really clear and non-apologetic. What's the R?
R, reinforce the positive outcome for them. This will allow me to make sure that projects A and B are delivered at the high standard you expect.
And airman.
Stay mindful of your goal, appear confident even if you're shaking, and be willing to negotiate. And most importantly, I love the buy time script.
Yes, because my impulse is just to panic and say yes immediately.
That's the key. Your default answer to any new request must be, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me check my capacity on that, and I will get back to you by the end of the day."
That buys you a cooling off period to actually think.
It lets the initial anxiety spike subside so you can make a decision based on your actual resources, not on your fear of disappointing someone.
This has been so incredibly helpful. We've got the neuroscience, the symptoms, the crash, and now a really practical toolkit. But we can't let our listeners go without a challenge.
No deep dive is complete without some homework. We are officially issuing the 7-day anti-hustle challenge.
The name alone is making me nervous. What do we have to do?
The objective is simple, but not easy: to retrain your nervous system to tolerate safety and stillness. For the next 7 days, you must schedule and complete 20 minutes of active rest.
20 minutes. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. It's like a power nap.
But it is not a nap. There are very strict rules. Rule number 1, no inputs. That means no phone, no book, no music, no podcasts. Not even this one. Nothing stimulating can enter your brain.
It's just silence.
Just you and your thoughts. Rule number 2, no outputs, no journaling, no planning your grocery list, no cleaning, no tidying, no organizing.
What are we supposed to do? Just sit there and stare at the wall?
You sit on your porch, you lie on the floor and look at the ceiling, you walk very slowly around your block without a destination.
This sounds excruciating. I can literally feel my skin crawling just thinking about it.
It will be. Let's be very clear about the expectation. For most people with HFA, this will feel terrible at first. You will feel agitated. You will feel profoundly bored. Your brain will scream at you that you are a lazy waste of space. You will have an almost unbearable urge to just pick up your phone for a second.
And that's the point of the exercise, to feel that urge and not act on it.
That is the entire goal, to sit with the discomfort of being, to observe the impulse to do without obeying it. It's a clinical technique called response prevention. You are proving to your amygdala in real time that stillness is not dangerous. You are teaching yourself that your existence is valid even when you are not being useful.
Your existence is valid even when you are not useful. That sentence is.
That's a powerful idea, because I think the deep, unspoken belief of HFA is, I am only as good as my last accomplishment.
That is the core lie that we are trying to dismantle with this practice.
So as we wrap this all up, what's the final thought you want to leave people with? Where does the duck go from here? I think it's crucial to remember that duck syndrome is a socially rewarded pathology. We celebrate the smooth gliding and we willfully ignore the frantic paddling until the duck finally burns out and sinks. But the goal of recovery isn't to become low functioning. It's to become sustainably functioning.
It's about finding a different kind of fuel.
Exactly. It's about shifting your primary fuel source from fear of failure, which is a dirty energy that pollutes your whole system with cortisol, to values and purpose, which is a clean, renewable energy. But that requires the immense courage to be imperfect. And it requires the radical recognition that rest is not the opposite of work. It is the essential prerequisite for it.
I love that. And I love the final analogy from our notes, a way to reframe the whole metaphor.
Yes. The final thought is to stop paddling for an invisible audience. You are not the duck. You are the water, the pond, and the sky. You are the entire context in which your life happens, not just the single frantic performance you deliver within it.
That is a beautiful place to end. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to go stare at a wall for 20 minutes now and try not to have a full-blown panic attack.
Enjoy the stillness. It gets easier.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Your journey, your tools. It's the strength to build anew. It's the light to guide you through. It's the choice to find your way. Starting here, starting today.
I hope this tool serves you well this week. If you found value in this, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. You can find all the resources and the full toolkit at your journey, yourtools.com. Be kind to yourself. You are doing better than you think, and I'll catch you on your journey.
Let's begin. Let's begin.